see that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did chapter 7 on the book, I believe. Our title was Female Immigrant Entrepreneurs. And very quickly, just kind of to make the case or the reason why we chose female immigrant entrepreneurs. I don't think you can see it properly, so I'm just going to do it this way. Our database, is based in the US. And so we try to make the point that immigrant entrepreneurship in the US has increased quite significantly, as you see in that chart that I'm showing you. This is immigrant entrepreneurs versus native-born entrepreneurs in the US for the last about 8 years, to 2018. Within that group, immigrant women in the US have also increased their presence. So we see more women entrepreneurs, immigrant women entrepreneurs entering into entrepreneurship or self-employment. By 2015, immigrant women own 40% of all immigrant-owned businesses and manage about 13% of all female-owned business. So we see these group, female immigrant women, an increasingly important part of the economies in developed countries, right? And so our purpose on this chapter was to kind of shed a light on this group and call for more attention, more research on who they are, how they enter into self-employment or entrepreneurship, and what are the conditions of the resources in which they enter into self-employment. So we used a public data set, IPEMS, which is a compilation of about 16 census data to kind of look at 3 forms of capital that we know are important for self-employment or for entrepreneurship: human, social, and financial capital. And what we tried to do was compare the human capital, the social capital, and the social financial capital of female immigrant women versus women, native-born women, US women, and versus immigrant males, to uncover whether or not or how are these sources or these forms of capital different for these group compared to their counterparts, their female counterparts and their immigrant male counterparts. So very quickly, our findings is that in terms of human capital, a much higher rate of self-employed immigrant women have lower education levels than native-born women. The difference is not as significant in terms of higher education. So immigrant women and native-born women with higher education enter self-employment at similar levels, which suggests that human capital is, as the literature shows, kind of a nonlinear variable, right? So there's a lot to uncover there as to how human capital plays a role on entering self-employment. In terms of social capital, we use family capital, so family size as a proxy to measure social capital. And what we found was that female immigrant women have on average more adults in the household. And these can be interpreted in 2 ways. It's a greater source of social capital, but it can also be a form of discouraging, right? Having more people at the home might push people to look for paid employment because they feel like they have more obligations, more responsibilities to take care of. In terms of financial capital, this is clear that the immigrant self-employed females on average have a lower annual family income compared to their male counterparts, male immigrant counterparts, and compared to native-born women. So it is clear that as immigrant self-employed females, in terms of financial capital, are at a disadvantage. And it can be that they earn less.
Okay, Dr. Gomez, if you could wind it up, we have about 10 more minutes left in the session. This was a shorter session. I apologize.
No. So very quickly, just kind of to highlight that female immigrant entrepreneurs are a group worth studying, that we cannot apply the findings of immigrants or the findings of women to this group, that their intersectionality matters, and that it's important to study them as a unique group. And so we hope that our chapter illustrates that. That's all.